A friend of Jesus. Mary Magdalene is, honestly, one of the most interesting figures we read about from ancient times. For many centuries, people thought of her in ways that were not entirely accurate. She was often portrayed as a woman who had made many mistakes but was forgiven by Jesus. However, early Christian texts paint a very different picture of her. They show her not just as a follower, but as a close friend and a trusted disciple of Jesus. She was present at some of the most important moments of his life. She stood by him at his crucifixion when many others had fled in fear. She was the very first person to see him after his resurrection. That made her a key witness to the central story of Christianity. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John all mention her by name. They agree she was chosen to announce Jesus' return to the other disciples. For a very long time, the Gospel of Mary was a lost text. It was a book that had been mentioned in ancient writings, but no one had a copy of it. Imagine, if you will, a secret book that holds special teachings from a famous historical figure, hidden away for centuries. That is what the Gospel of Mary was like. Scholars knew it existed because other ancient writers had talked about it, sometimes criticizing it. But the book itself was gone, likely hidden or destroyed because its ideas were considered controversial by some powerful church leaders. The mystery of this lost gospel only grew over time, making people wonder what secrets it might contain about Jesus and his teachings, especially those he shared with Mary Magdalene. Everything changed in 1896. A German scholar named Karl Reinhardt was in Cairo, Egypt, looking for ancient manuscripts. In an antique shop, he found a bundle of old papyrus papers called a codex. This codex contained several texts that had been lost for over 1,500 years. Among them was the only known copy of the Gospel of Mary. It was an incredible discovery, like finding a hidden treasure chest full of knowledge from the ancient world. The Gospel of Mary contains teachings that are quite different from what you might find in the Bible. The main message is that salvation comes from within. It is not about simply following external rules or believing in a specific creed. Instead, the Gospel teaches that the divine, the Son of Man, is present inside every person. The journey to spiritual peace is about looking inward and discovering this divine connection for yourself. Jesus, in this Gospel, is a guide who helps his followers find the path to their own inner light. He encourages them to reject the world's distractions and temptations. These are described as forms of matter that try to hold the soul back. A central theme is overcoming sin through knowledge. Sin is not a moral failure or a violation of God's law. The Gospel of Mary was not included in the Bible for very specific reasons. In the early centuries of Christianity, there were many different Gospels writings circulating among believers. It was a time of great diversity and debate. However, as the church grew organized, bishops wanted a single, unified set of beliefs. They had to decide which books were orthodox. This process chose the New Testament texts and rejected others. The teachings in the Gospel of Mary were considered problematic. First, its emphasis on secret knowledge or gnosis was seen as a threat. Another major issue was Mary Magdalene's prominent role. In the Gospel of Mary, she is shown as a superior apostle receiving special revelations from Jesus. Did he really speak with a woman in private and not openly to us? Are we to turn around and all listen to her? Did he prefer her to us? To truly understand the message of the Gospel of Mary, we can look at specific examples from the text. One of the most powerful moments comes after Jesus has left, and the disciples are grieving and confused. Peter addresses Mary. "Sister, we know that the Savior loved you more than the rest of women. Tell us the words of the Savior which you remember, which you know, but we do not." This passage is incredibly important. It shows Peter acknowledging Mary's special relationship with Jesus. He asks her to be their teacher in that moment. Mary responds by sharing a vision and a secret teaching. "I will teach you about what is hidden from you." She describes asking the Lord how one sees a vision. Jesus explains the soul sees through the mind. The soul, the mind, the spirit. The point: spiritual experience is an internal process, not seeing with physical eyes, but perceiving truth with your inner spiritual self. The conflict over her authority appears when Andrew and Peter react. Andrew says the ideas are strange. Peter questions whether Jesus would reveal such truths to a woman. This exposes tensions. Mary's mystical path versus Peter's authority-based path. The Gospel ends with Levi defending Mary. "Peter, you have always been hot-tempered. If the Savior made her worthy, who are you to reject her?" In our modern world, the story and teachings of Mary Magdalene resonate with many people for powerful reasons. For centuries, her identity was suppressed and distorted. The discovery of her gospel helps restore her to her rightful place as a significant spiritual leader in early Christianity. Her story is especially important for women who have often felt excluded or marginalized in religious traditions. Mary provides a strong and ancient example of female leadership, wisdom, spiritual authority. The teachings within the Gospel of Mary offer a spiritual path many people today find appealing. In a chaotic, stressful world, the idea of finding peace and divinity within oneself is comforting and empowering. Furthermore, the Gospel of Mary challenges us to think critically about history. History is often written by the winners. Many voices have been lost or silenced. The survival of this text is a small miracle, opening a richer, more complex picture of the past. It encourages us to ask, whose stories have not been told? What other ideas and beliefs existed? By studying texts like the Gospel of Mary, we learn to appreciate diversity and that there has never been just one right way to believe. Her story inspires art, literature, and spiritual conversations around the globe. She is a symbol of the sacred feminine, hidden wisdom, resilience in the face of misunderstanding. Whether seen as a historical document or a source of spiritual inspiration, her voice, once lost, now speaks to a new generation. It invites us to look deeper, question assumptions, and find the wisdom that lies hidden within ourselves.